closing costs. We will likely do that instead of none. Now, there might come a scenario where you say, we're in multiple offers, I wanna put my best foot forward, I'm gonna offer a really great price, I'm not gonna ask the seller to pay any closing costs. That might happen too. Just understand that it's very common that there's an entire blank on the purchase and sale agreement that says, and I provided one for you guys here, it actually says, what are the seller paid closing costs? As we look through this purchase and sale, it's really important for you to understand it. This is the property address, this is the price we're willing to offer, and now all of a sudden, here are the seller's contribution to the closing costs. Item number 3, it's that common.
I was lucky, the lady I bought from, she paid all the closing
Well,
costs.
and it can happen.
Yeah.
So, the other thing we're gonna look at are the terms.
Is that because they're determined to sell it?
It depends on the situation.
She was
Yeah.
ready to go.
It's a net number. Remember, take a look at this. If you're offering, the home is listed for 125, and you've offered them 115 and asked them to pay 10,000 in closing costs, what's their net? What's their net? If you're offering them 115 and you're asking them to pay 10,000 closing costs, what's their net?
135?
Their net is less,
Okay.
105. So that's the same thing as somebody coming in and offering price of 105 with no closing costs. The seller doesn't really care. They really look at this number. So if you're competing against someone else who offered 107 and you offered 120, 115 and 10, they actually have a better offer. So you gotta be really conscious of that. It just depends on what the seller wants and what the net is. And we'll guide you in this process. This isn't, you know. And then contingencies are the conditions of purchase. I will buy your home, provided that during my inspection period, which we call due diligence, there's no issues, and if there are issues, defects, that you will fix them, Mr. Seller. I will buy your home if I am qualified to purchase it officially through the financing time frame, which you've already done the pre-approval at this point, so you should be clear. And I will buy your home, Mr. Seller, if it appraises for the price that you and I have agreed to on paper that it should appraise for. Now, if it doesn't appraise, we're gonna get to what that looks like, okay? Those are all protections for you as the buyer. Contingencies are protections for you as the buyer.
I don't know how true this is, but I was told that, for vets, if the VA, if you find a home that you like, and the VA has to approve it, basically, they have to
That's right.
be okay with that house
That's
before
right.
they'll loan you the money. That's true?
The fact is that a VA will not loan you a house if there are defects in the house. So that means that when the seller
No matter how
accepts,
much you like it.
no matter how much you like
Yeah.
it, if a seller sees that a VA loan is coming through, they will know that they must repair the things that are defective before closing, or the loan will not go through. Okay, and then what's a fair price? We can talk about that when the time comes, but a fair price is based on, does anyone know?
The market value.
The fair market value. And sometimes the fair market value is one number, and what a buyer is willing to pay for your house is a higher number or a lower number. The fair market value at the end of the day is really, the definition is, what is a buyer willing to pay for your house, and what are you willing to take for your house? That's what the market is the speaker. So we don't set the price, the market does. Okay? Now, you are under contract on a home. I'm going to show you this. There's a line on your paper in your purchase and sale that talks about due diligence.
How's that determined, the fair market value though? Just
It's
based on
the solds, the homes that have sold.
sold around in your
Yeah.
neighborhood?
And sometimes there are some pendings and some actives that we can take a look at and compare. It's based on what's out there in the last 180 days, and we're gonna get to that in appraisal value.
When I purchased mine, Carlisle Woods was everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Were grabbing those condos. I
Mhm.
mean, then you would, get in the mail telling you which ones,
Alright.
and it
So-
was just,
Here's the logic, and here are economic terms. Here are economic terms. When there is more in the bucket, the price does what?
Goes down.
Goes down.
The price goes down.
okay.
When there are few things in the bucket, the price goes up. So the concept is people will pay more in this industry because it becomes a seller's market. have to pay top dollar as a buyer. You want it to be a buyer's market. You want many, many choices, and you want people to fall all over it, okay? We're currently in a seller's market. It's moving towards a buyer's market. We're not in a buyer's market yet, so it may behoove you to wait, okay?
So there's homes in downtown Decatur that I've seen, like little cottage style homes that are old, probably 50 years or more, but they've been renovated and they've been updated. And then right next to one of those houses, maybe somebody tore one down and rebuilt a huge $500,000 house.
Mhm.
So that little bitty home that's next to that has to be the same or in that same price bracket.
No, understand that we're gonna get to appraisal value. The age of a home, so 1950 compared to 2016 or 2017, not a comparable. The size of the home, 1,000 square feet to 3,000 square feet, not comparable. A comparable sale is the same size, age, location, which you have location, within 180 days of sale. He has to find 3 equivalent 1950s homes, 1950 to 1970, that have sold in the same size range to compare. If he doesn't find it, he's not gonna use the new home. He's gonna go a little further out and then a little further out. Not a comparable, but we'll get to that. Can you hold that thought? Okay, so. I wanted to talk about inspection, okay? Let's talk about the inspection periods. All right, you put in an offer, they accepted your offer, you're under contract. Yay! All right, so we call that here in Georgia, we call that being under contract or pending,
Now comes the work.
or sometimes in some places they call it escrow, or, it's some kind of an agreement that you get to hold the house hostage for a certain period of time to do your inspections, but you are dating. The buyer and the seller are now dating. This is the courtship, okay? You want to get to the finish line, but we have an agreement that they are going to go towards the same path and get to the finish line, which is the closing. The date that they make agreement in writing, we call that the binding agreement date, and everything starts clicking from there. So, we had a binding agreement date of yesterday. Today is day 1. That's how it's done in Georgia. The binding agreement, when the two of you signed the papers and everybody got the papers, that's the binding agreement date. Today is 8/26 and today is day 1, okay? So, there are 3 timelines that go on concurrently at the same time. The first one is the inspection period. It is X number of days from binding agreement. The second one is the financing timeline. It is X number of days from binding agreement. The third one is appraisal. Now, the normal time frame for inspections is 7 to 15 days in Georgia. The normal time frames for financing is 20 to 25 days, and appraisal is 20 to 25 days. These could be 18 too if you want to get aggressive.